Hey everyone, so we're going to do a tutorial today on probably one of the most popular suggested subjects. Today we're going to be doing back hops. Now when you think of trials riding, often the first thing that comes to mind is people just hopping about on the back wheel. Back hops is one of the most fundamental things for trials riding. It allows you to set up for gaps, for drops, and generally just maneuver your bike exactly where you need it for particularly tricky moves. Being able to control the bike on the back wheel is vital if you want to progress in trials. It allows you to accurately get your bike into position before a big move, and is vital for setting up for static gaps where you need to get as close to the edge as possible, as well as setting up perfectly for bigger drops. And it's just quite a cool, fun way to get across some tricky obstacles, although it isn't the most efficient and can be more tiring than other techniques. I'm using a specific trials bike which has shorter chainstays and a higher bottom bracket than a standard bike. This makes my bike easier to control on the rear wheel, but I do want to emphasise that back hops can be done on any bike. You do not need a specific trials bike to do rear wheel hops. Firstly, it's going to be fairly vital that you can already comfortably endo and bunny hop. You will need to be able to lift your rear wheel with your feet alone. I'll include links to previous tutorials on these in the description. The first thing we're going to talk about is where to have your weight. Like every technique, if you need your bike to go somewhere, you need to make your body do it first. To get on the back wheel, you need to get your weight backwards. You can initiate the backwards movement by doing a small endo and then rocking back with your rear brake locked. I recommend seeing if you can get your weight so far back that you have to step off the back of the bike. This teaches you weight management as well as getting comfortable with ejecting off the back. Don't worry if you can't do this just yet, give it some practice and eventually you get it. It's an important step and worth learning. The thing not to do is try and lift the bars up to your body. You will not get your weight in the right place and back hopping will be extremely difficult. Hopefully now you're able to get your weight far enough back, you need to step off. Next we're going to try and add the hops, which is similar to small English hops, which are mainly generated by flexing your arms, ankles and knees to generate upwards momentum. Start the rear wheel weight movement with an endo, or without if you want, and when you feel the bike getting vertical, use that English hop technique to lift the bike, keeping the back brake locked. The hops should be subtle and with minimal body movement, not huge ones like this, that'll just tire you out. Even though the hops are different from normal bunny hops, it still uses a similar scoop technique, it's just less extreme. The hops should only be big enough so that you can correct your balance. Also stay relaxed, one mistake most people make is being too stiff. Easier said than done though. As soon as you start to do big hops, you waste energy and will get tired very quickly. But also don't try and do as many hops as possible. That's a waste of energy too and looks like you're just having a fit. When you do start hopping, you may find you can't stop yourself from travelling backwards. That's fairly normal, so don't worry, the tips I'm going to show you in a minute should hopefully get you hopping in the same spot though. One good thing to practice is to see if you can find that balance point without any hops. Like I mentioned, hops are correcting mistakes. In my mind, the ultimate goal is to be able to be on the rear wheel and not have to do any hops at all. It's also a good way to help stop hopping backwards. Another issue you might have is your front foot ratcheting back. Try experimenting with adding more pressure to your front foot whilst keeping the back brake locked. Don't worry about hopping, just add that pressure. It'll feel like there's tension in your arms, but that's okay. The natural evolution from adding pedal pressure is to then use the pedals to get onto the rear wheel, instead of using an endo. I recommend starting the same way as before, getting to the point of ejecting off the back. Adding the back brake might overcomplicate things if this is new to you. This time there's less emphasis on getting your weight as far back. The bike will now accelerate in front of you, which has the same effect as putting your weight behind the rear axle. The next step is to start applying the back brake. At first you can apply it when you put a foot down, this just makes the feeling of pulling it get familiar. I recommend using just one finger if your brake is strong enough. The more you get used to pulling the brake, the earlier you can start to use it. See if you can use it before needing to put your foot down. The timing can be hard, it might feel like you're trying to rub your tummy and pat your head. But it is a really hard technique, so don't be put off if this takes a long time to start feel natural. Hopefully you'll get to the point where you get the timing good enough to stop on the rear wheel without putting the foot down. This is when you need to remember to ratchet your pedals back to a comfortable position to hop. A comfortable foot position on the back wheel is with your back foot slightly lower than your front. Once you start to get comfortable with the pedal and brake timing, you can try and reset and add another without putting the front wheel down. You need to allow your weight to come forward slightly, making the front wheel lower. Then it's a case of releasing the back brake at the same time as adding the pedal stroke. Notice how my arms are slightly bent. You want to be fairly relaxed, let the bars come up to you slightly, but still keeping your weight balanced over the rear hub. The next step is to start adding a hop. Using the pedals like this is vital for being accurate. The brake timing is just the same as before, and the hop is the same as earlier, but you just have to be good with your timing. This can get complicated quick. If you're struggling with this, there's no shame in going back a step and getting more practice in. One challenge you can try is draw a circle and see if you can stay inside it. You probably need to use a combination of all the tips so far to do this. The smaller the circle, the bigger the challenge. Whilst back hopping, you'll actually be looking in different places depending on what you're doing. If you're being accurate, you'll either be looking at the rear wheel down through your legs, or at an obstacle you're about to attempt. Unlike mountain biking, keeping your head up and looking further away will actually make it harder to balance. I recommend experimenting and see how it can affect you. Hopefully you're getting quite comfortable now. A good test of abilities is to pick some marks on the floor and see if you can hop on each of them. This will use a combination of everything in this video so far.
So there you go everyone, those are my tips on how to back hop. I hope you found them really useful. Once you can back hop to a comfortable level, it opens up so much more riding. I definitely recommend taking the time to get your back hops as dialed as possible before you start trying to run and send yourself off big drops or massive gaps. To be able to just be comfortable on the back wheel, be calm, relaxed, get yourself set up absolutely spot on. It is just so important, so don't skip that. If you'd like to see more tutorials, I've got a few more on my channel which I've linked below. I've also started a Patreon page and I'd absolutely love it if you were to come on there and support me. To tempt you over, I'm doing exclusive footage on there. I'm doing way more in-depth tutorials. I'm even setting up Facebook groups where we can chat. If you want to know more stuff in detail, we can discuss it on there. Or even the possibility where you can send me videos and I can review them, give you some hints and tips on how to make your riding even better. Either way, I hope to see you back here on YouTube or on Patreon. I hope this was really useful. If you have any questions, let me know down below, and I'd love to know what tutorials you'd like to see next. But thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all next time. So see you later, everyone.